We welcome Louis de Jaeger from the Liberal Party of Canada, and he's here to share his platform with us and help us better understand democracy at the federal level and even help us participate in our student vote. So on behalf of Strathcona, thank you very much for your time. I know it's a really busy time. Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Yep. Great. Welcome. Asuel. That is a local word in Hakamen language, and it's the language of the Stolo. It's what surrounds us. It's the territory and the land that we are on. So it's always nice to respect where you are. It's sort of a cultural thing. It's just the blending of just being part of the bigger picture. So rather just, thinking of yourself as just, one person and my life and everything, it's nice to sort of open up your mind and your eyes and you look around and you think, wow, I'm part of this whole bigger thing called the Fraser Valley. That's sort of one of the reasons why I got into this and decided to run that the election was on. My background comes from the fur trade. So have you had any history on the fur trade in Canada already? Yes?
Yeah. In grade 4 we learned about it.
Perfect. And did you learn about the Red River Settlement? No, the Red River Settlement was in Winnipeg, which is the center of Canada. That's sort of where everything kind of started. It was the Hudson Bay Company that was coming over here, and they were hunting furs and taking them back to England. And they were only sending mostly young Scottish men because they were hardy and the weather's very cold in the north of Scotland. And that's where my ancestry comes from, is the Norquay and Sinclair families. Today, if you go up to Scotland into the Orkney Islands, there's actually totem poles there. And that's from the young men who went over as part of the fur trade. They brought back their country wives, is what they called them. Churches and faith was just kind of beginning. So that was kind of part of the settlement, was for a lot of the Jesuit and other forms of faith to go over and set up and sort of help people over there. So they brought back the country wives because there wasn't really anything called marriage in those days because there was nobody to really marry anyone. So it was just sort of an informal ceremony, usually taking place in one of the First Nations camps, wherever they were. There was Cree, Saulteaux, there was lots of sort of big different First Nations there that were cooperating with the fur trade. And not only that, but the women that the men were meeting also became their guides. So they knew the land, they knew how to survive in the harsh winters, and this is what was picked up by the people. And then they had kids and they had kids, and they formed this almost unique sort of culture called the Métis, what we call nowadays. There was a few different names going back, but in specific to the fur trade, it was in the Red River Settlement, which is sort of now Winnipeg, and they called it Rupert's Land, which spanned across most of Western Canada and even far down as North Dakota, into the States. And there was expeditions that even went into Washington State, south of us here. So that's a proud tradition that kind of got left on its side there, because when Canada formed and things were happening, it all became about the French and the English, and the First Nations kind of got pushed behind, and so did the Métis even further behind, because they weren't either First Nations and they weren't part of the majority of the other population, so they kind of got forgotten. So nowadays we see this resurgence of culture, and we just, in our history, we're learning that more in school, and we think, oh, well, why did we lose this culture, and why wasn't it part of Canada from the beginning? I really don't know. It must have a lot to do with just how people thought in those days. And I think today is much more of a compassionate and a caring society. And now we're taking a look at the wrongs maybe that were done in the past, and we're trying to correct that. One of the things you'll probably be learning in the next few years is about First Nations culture, is something called residential schools. So I won't get into that too much, but it was a really hard time for a lot of First Nations people. and not so much the kids that are your age now, but their parents and their parents' parents. So it really affected their lives, and it really affected where they're living, how they're living, their traditions, hunting and fishing, and that has a lot to do with where we are now. So that being said, I'm a proud Métis person, and my great-great-great-grandfather was John Norquay, was the first premier of Manitoba, and we never knew that because my grandmother actually ran away from school. She ran away because she was marked. She was one of the Métis that were filled into these residential schools to make up the quota. So they were trying to take a lot of the culture away from the First Nations and blend them in. So though their intent might have been good, the result was not so good. But I'll just leave that with you because it's something you're going to learn further on. But it's why I'm so passionate about things, because I really want everybody to be treated equal. And, you know, a lot of us and immigrants that come in, so that we all have a fair chance. I look to the Liberal Party for a lot of that. I also look a little bit to the NDP for a lot of that. And right now I've owned a business, a restaurant for the last 11 years. And I also look at the Conservative Party for a lot of different business ideas. So being in the middle puts you in a unique situation because you're forced to sort of deal with both parties, one on this side and one on this side. And though they have their ideology, you're trying to blend it all and trying to make everybody get along. So it's a unique task that isn't always easy, but you know what? I wouldn't do this if it wasn't, if it was easy. And most of the Liberal Party and the people that are there are really for that, is trying to bring people together. So I'm going to play a couple of videos because a lot of the policy, and you'll see these guys on TV and you'll go blah, 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 and they go on about numbers and, you know, how does that affect my everyday life? Well, you know, it might not right now, but I hold an Aboriginal sort of ideology that whatever we do now is something for 7 generations ahead. So whatever we do, we have to be responsible. If you throw garbage on the ground, you're responsible for that. Or, you know, what happens? Is it not recycled? And those kind of things are very important, because if we all just had disregard for what we were doing and products and things that we were using, there wouldn't be much of a planet left. I've done a bit of traveling, you know, throughout my years, and one place that I have been to was Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. I was going out to a, have you been there? Awesome. Anyone else been there? Oh, perfect. So did you go out and there was a sort of a reef out in the bay, like where you saw the bay where all the bay of, what do they call it, Bengal or Bengal? Did you know the name? Do you remember the name? Bengal or something like that. So anyway, so as you go out toward this reef to go scuba, or not, just snorkeling, you go through this barrier, and it's like a garbage barrier. And so everyone's in the boat, and we're all, you know, it's beautiful. And all of a sudden you're looking around, you're going, oh my God. I even saw a pig that was upside down, that was all bloated, that was dead. And I just thought, wow, this is such a horrible, dirty place. And then the captain and the people were coming around collecting money. And they're saying, oh, you know, this is the fund to help clean this up. I wasn't quite sure about that, but it just goes to show you what a beautiful place just around the corner, or if you look around, you're going to see a lot of garbage and stuff. And being responsible human beings on our planet, thinking of your kids and your kids' kids, is that we have to protect what we have. So everything that we do, we have to be responsible for. So barring all that, that's my little introduction. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos, a little policy, and lots of great pictures and stuff of our area. And we'll take it from there, and I'll take questions. Sorry about the volume here. So.
My name is Louis de Jaeger. I am the candidate for Chilliwack-Hope for the Liberal Party of Canada. I moved to Chilliwack for its affordability and its unique sense of community within a city. There is that feeling of being at home wherever you are, whether it be in the mountains, hiking, on the rivers, or just talking to somebody in the supermarket. You can always turn around and there's somebody there. I serve on several boards in this community, so I know what's happening in this community. I know the pulse, I know what people need, and I also know what we're missing. We don't have the cooperation from the federal government that we do at either a municipal or a provincial level. We need somebody who's going to be the glue, who's going to bring everybody together and work together on problems. That's the kind of representation that we need in Ottawa, not Ottawa's message coming to Chilliwack.
That's my restaurant thing.
For over a decade now, I've owned Bravo Restaurant and Lounge. I'm passionate about not only the cultural potential that we have in Chilliwack-Hope, but also the business potential as well. We're missing opportunities being this close to Vancouver just because we don't have engagement by our current MP. I think what makes us proud about being Canadians really is about where we're from, about our values that we have at home, the values that we build here, and we take that abroad. People look to Canada as a leader. We look to Canada as being a kind and caring society. That's my Canada. That's the Canada that I want us to cherish and bring forward. Join me, and together we can build a better Chilliwack-Hope.
There we go. That's the first one. Did anyone recognize some of the areas there? What do we see? Go ahead. Yes, Othello Tunnels. Very good, because that was a fast shot, wasn't it? Just getting it in there. Anyone else? Yeah. Five Corners. Yes. And why is that so important to this city? It's the center. It's the center of everything. Everybody in the old days used to come to the center. That's where the town was. And we kind of see it now that it's empty. Maybe a lot of things aren't happening. And it looks like we need some revitalization there to restore that center. So that's the uniqueness of the center. Yes?
The clock tower?
The clock tower is something that's quite new, fairly new. Yeah. And yeah, that was actually the Vedder River. In that one, yeah, the part of the Chilliwack River, and then it goes into the Vedder River. I live right by there by Peach Road, so that's a very important salmon fishing area right now. So we'll get the other one, see if you can recognize some other areas here.
I moved to Chilliwack-Hope for its stunning beauty. Our rivers and streams are bursting with life. As a society, we must take care of this resource and protect not only the economic, but also the traditional sustainability. Liberals have a plan to create clean jobs, grow the economy, and protect the environment. Stephen Harper has refused to take action on climate change, slashed environmental protections, cut funding for sciences, and allow other countries to take the lead on creating clean jobs. I'm not willing to sit by and let that continue to happen. We have a plan to undo the damage done. Our agenda focuses on taking action on climate change, investing in clean technologies, creating clean jobs and investment, restoring credibility and environmental reviews, preserving and protecting our national parks, and protecting our water. We will phase out fossil fuel subsidies and expand investment in the clean tech sector. We will remove fees for our national parks for the 150th anniversary of Canadian Confederation, expand protection of our waterways and species at risk, and reinstate funding for science and monitoring. I'm proud to say that this includes acting on the recommendations of the Cohen Commission on restoring sockeye salmon stocks in the Fraser River. The Liberal Party has a sweeping agenda to deliver real change. We will tap into the economic opportunities of our environment and create the sustainable prosperity that middle-class families deserve. Join me now and together we'll build a better Chilliwack-Hope.
So I'm just going to leave it there because those are kind of the two most fun videos anyway. And I'll pass around my sash. So this is part of the culture, the Métis culture anyway. And you'll see these are all kind of hand woven. That's how they used to do it. It was called finger weaving. And yes.
I noticed that at the Stolo Longhouse.
Yes, that's a resource center. Yes, I'm part of the board of directors there. And it's called Stolo Community Futures. So what they do is they help like young entrepreneurs, young businesses get started around here, as well as cooperate with other businesses. I'm also part of a committee. There's 3 of us, and we sort of organize 250 Aboriginal businesses within Stolo territory, and that helps helps their businesses get started, lets them get connected. We do lots of training, help them with bookkeeping, stuff like that. And it just helps nurture their businesses. Yes.
My brother has one of them.
Oh, he does. And where did he get that from?
I think he went to a trip on Quebec.
Oh, okay. He got it from Quebec. There's a couple of festivals. The one in Quebec that uses that a lot. Banam, I think it is sort of a big sort of snowman that wears that. But it's also very common in Manitoba, and it's associated with the Festival du Voyageur. Is it French you're speaking already here? Really? Wow, that is like, man, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I went to, it was probably about your age, and I was in immersion. So I was learning French while I was at school. But you know what? I lost it. I lost so much of it. But when I go east and I hear a lot, I can understand and I can read well. But it's the verbs. The verbs are killer for me. I don't know. Are they killer for you, or you're okay with them? Yeah. So that's my tough one. But I'll get it. Go ahead.
S59.
Pardon?
S59. Are you bilingual?
No. My family is, but the French that I learned when I was young, I didn't use it. So if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So please continue to use your French. It's going to help you throughout life. And it's going to help you connect with other cultures as well. So that's wonderful.
So Louis, just to help the kids kind of summarize, because they're working through their mind about who meets their needs when it comes to choosing a candidate.
Yes.
Could you summarize your top 3? I know the video helps
kind of explains
that.
a little bit.
If you can tie it together with your top 3 hard issues, that would be helpful.
For me, for the 3 hard issues, for sure, for me going into the campaign, is definitely who the candidate is. Who the candidate is and how connected are they with the community? Because if you're going to send a representative into Ottawa to represent this community, how are they going to know the issues unless they're connected with community groups? How are they going to know the issues unless they're involved in community groups? How are they going to know the issues unless they're volunteering for community groups? So those are 3 things basically as a citizen that you should be doing before you're stepping up and you think you're representing people. So that would be issue number 1. Issue number 2 is just opportunities. We're missing so many opportunities in this riding because we're not really connecting with our cultural sort of society, which is the biggest landowner in this riding. So we seem to be doing things, pulling farmland out of the ALR, which is sort of land that they have designated as farming land here. They're starting to take that out now to build houses because we're growing so fast out here. So for me, the connection and dealing with First Nations, we have all this land that's out of the ALR and trying to build that connection so that we're becoming more of partners rather than 2 different societies. That would be my second thing. Third thing would be the economy. So in doing that, we're creating jobs. We're investing in the economy, investing in green energy. It's like a huge amount of money, like $20 billion, if you can think of that. It's just going for the green economy. That is going to spur jobs. You've often seen windmills and different ways of creating energy to help our lights go on in our house. Right now, we're using a lot of fossil fuels, so things that can't be renewed. So we're just trying to balance and get those sort of energies up to create jobs and lessen the harmfulness of the effects of fuels on our environment. And also investing in you, investing in your education, investing in housing so that maybe people who don't have so much money, they have affordable housing. They're not spending so much money just on their rent or mortgages or things like that. And just concentrating more on Canadians and just being kind and caring to ourselves, our veterans, our seniors, and basically concentrating on our society. And so those are probably the three things why I'm kind of getting involved in this. And those are my focuses. And it's just getting along, trying to not have all this arguing, and you always see them yelling at each other in politics. There's no need of that. We should be excited about stepping up and trying to make our society better. Okay.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks
Is that
very
good?
much. Yeah, we have some questions for you.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I want questions.
Division 3, you can keep your hands down for a second. We didn't really give Mr. Johns' class and Madame Spain's class much time for questions last time. So if you're in the other two classes, please.
I'll try to keep them short.
Sure.
Blue.
My name's Caleb, and why do you want to be elected?
Why do I want to be elected? You know why? Because the current person that's in there, I don't see as an activist enough. You know, I think you have to be up there, and it's like all of you when you're getting into the lunch counter and you want a certain thing, and they're just saying they're giving it to everyone else, but you're not getting your fair share. And I think that's what's happening. And I think when we send somebody, they need to know not only what we need, but how to get in there and make those relationships and how to get what we need. So I think that's what's missing of the current person that's there now. Yep. I'm sorry?
How many seats do you have to fill?
How many seats? It's moving up to, I believe it's 338 is the new sort of normal. They've increased that. So because the population has increased, they wanted equal representation from the areas, so they've increased the seats for that as well.
I think you might be
Was that
asking how many you currently have.
Oh, I see. Oh, and the Liberal seats. Well, right now there's no government, so there's nothing. So the Liberal Party, I'm not too sure. I think it was like 23 or something like that, what they previously had in the last government. So it wasn't a lot. So because of circumstances that happened and the shifts in political atmosphere and what people were voting on. So, and I'll get you.
My name is Connor, and I'm wondering how you're going to keep drugs away from kids.
Oh, wow. That's a good question, isn't it, eh? Well, you know what? The Liberal Party sort of has kind of an open view on this. They want to talk about this. We feel that as a society, we've been around long enough. And you're probably talking about, are you talking about marijuana? First of all, you want to just stick to one because there's a lot of different drugs and there's a lot of different illegal drugs. And there's also a lot of different legal drugs that are being abused in our society. Wow, look at the hands go up now, hey? So like, this is, and it's a great topic. And I have friends that I know in their 70s that smoke marijuana. You know, I don't smoke marijuana, but, you know, whatever, right? They're in their 70s. What am I going to tell them? It's been a recreational drug, and that's what they use it for a lot of years. What do we do about it? Well, you know what? I think we're old enough to know that it exists. I think we should be dealing with it. And what the Liberal Party wants to do is they actually want to control it, like we control alcohol, so that you have to show ID, there's a place to get it. You can't grow it at home, the same as you can't make booze at home. There has to be certain places for it. But what they're doing is they're not pushing a one solution on anybody. They want everybody involved so that we deal with this properly, because there are medical uses for it as well. I have a cousin who's got glaucoma, which is sort of an eye disease. She smokes marijuana for that. And my sister has glaucoma and she uses eye drops, which are really toxic. And that's what she uses for the same thing. So having the choices of alternative medicine, you know, for pain use as well, is something I think we just need to talk about. So does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about abortion?
Oh my God. I don't think anybody thinks that abortion is a good thing. I don't think anybody wants that. But you know what? It's I can reflect it to sort of my grandmother, because I know my grandmother did in the 50s, had an abortion. But she had an abortion that was carried out at home, and she almost lost her life. So Should we have safe places in case this needs to happen? You know, I think we need to be thinking and protecting our society. And as far as your choice, if you need to make that choice, that would be your decision with your creator and your doctor and your consciousness, and it would have to be your decision. Why should I tell you what to do with your body? So that's basically what the Liberal Party is saying as far as dealing with, you know, choice, pro-choice, or, you know, it's your decision.
If you could only have one of you up there, who would you rather have, you or Justin Trudeau?
Oh, really? Well, I've met Justin Trudeau probably about 6 times. He's a million times smarter than me. So, you know, he's really good. I want to be here for the riding because he doesn't know our riding. So it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't matter who gets in government. I want to be representing this riding because I know a lot of its needs, a lot of its problems. And I think I have those sort of skills to build relationships within our community to help make a lot of things that we need happen. So I would let him do his job and I don't want to do his job. I don't want to be the Prime Minister. Saying that, who knows, right? Who knows what the future is? But I honestly have to say I actually love Justin. I really admire him and where he's come from and his big heart and how he wants to deal with a lot of our problems and listen to people and be inclusive. He's a leader that doesn't lead from a way up here like Mr. Harper will say things and you never see anyone around him. Justin Trudeau always has people around him and he consults with people. He picked me, so he obviously thinks there's something that I have to contribute for the betterment of this country. Yes.
What are you gonna do about taxes? Like, are you gonna raise them? Are you gonna lower them? Or are you gonna keep them the same?
We're lowering taxes for the middle class by 7%, which is a big amount. This is going to help people come out of poverty as well, so things won't cost as much. They're going to be able to keep a lot more money in their pockets. And I think that's where the majority of the people sort of sit, is this called the middle class. Then there's a lower class. We've got to make sure there's programs and things for them. And that's why we're investing all this money into something called social infrastructure, which starts with housing first, getting people into houses so that they're able to try to get into this middle class, which makes the money that is dispensable and you can go for dinner and have extra things and feed your kids as well. Is that okay for you? For an answer? If I'm not answering your question, tell me. Yes.
Hi, my name's Ethan. I'm wondering, what is some of your basic beliefs?
Some of my basic beliefs? Wow. Like as far as, now what are you talking about? Sort of faith beliefs? Or are you talking generally or?
Community.
Right. Well, community for sure. I think that, you know, we all need to think of ourselves as part of a bigger puzzle. And when we do that, it helps you make decisions much easier so that you're looking where there's need. When I opened my business, I looked at, there wasn't sort of a fancy schmancy restaurant, and I thought, well, you know, maybe I'll go in there and I'll try to do something that nobody else has tried to do, and I'll try to put it in an area. And the restaurant is located in an area that really needed a nice place to be there. And if you do things like that, it spawns other places. So when you're thinking of your ideas, don't just be thinking about what it's going to do best for you. Think about what it's best going to do for your community as well. So that would be probably one of my biggest beliefs is community.
I think we have time for two more questions.
Sure.
Yeah. My name is Liam, and what gave you the motivation to run?
What gave me the motivation to run? Probably because I'm kind of crazy anyway. So, you know, I really was, I met Mr. Trudeau probably about 3 years ago. And, you know, and I wasn't, you know, even thinking of it. Sometimes I vote NDP, some in provincially. Sometimes I vote Liberal provincially. I mean, I'm kind of all over the map, and I look at the person who's running, and I listen to him, and he said, you know, I'm young. I don't have all the experience, but you want me to do this. He says, I'll do it, but I need you and everyone else in your communities to come forward, all the leaders and people that think they can help me move and change this country in a more positive direction, to come forward. And that's why I did it. I did it, and it was a call, and I just felt that in my life at this time, it was my turn to sort of give back even more to my community. Do you want to do another quick one?
What are you going to do about homelessness?
Homelessness, we're investing a large amount of money. It's the biggest investment in Canadian history. And it's going to be focused a lot on what's called housing first. So getting people into housing. The money's going to actually trickle down to our municipality. There's kind of three levels of government. The municipality, that's our mayor and our councillors, the province, and then there's the higher up is the government of Canada. So this money's going to trickle down to the municipalities because they already have things like Ann Davis Society, I think you've heard of, a lot of other community groups that are already like the boots on the ground, they call them. They're already invested. But all of these, and there's about 34 of them, I think, that are called Chilliwack Healthier Communities, are working together. They have this amazing plan that goes in 6 steps. They have task force on the ground already. They need money. Rather than each individual organization fighting for funding, they're now working together. So now's the best opportunity and the best time to have a government that understands people at our community level and start to get some funding to them so that they can execute the programs to get people homes and to help homeless people and give them some hope. Because if you don't have any hope, I think that's what happens to Canada, and you see it all over the world. When people lose hope, there's nothing else to live for, and they're desperate. So that's why you see a lot of nasty things happen throughout the world, because people have lost that sort of hope. And in a country like Canada, is so rich, we should have more than enough hope to help other people as well.
Thank you for answering the questions.
Good, yeah.
We have one last summary question that we've been asking candidates.
Perfect.
So if you are successful,
Yep.
And you're elected as our representative for
Yep.
Chilliwack-Hope, what would be the single most important thing you would like to achieve during that term?
The single most important thing I'd like to achieve is a relationship. Is a relationship between the biggest landowner out here and the government, because we've been ignoring it. And we've had other municipalities come to us and they've said, "What, you guys have got all this opportunity. You're missing this opportunity because we don't maybe understand each other. We're not getting involved with each other, and we're not teaming up and partnering." We have cities like, there's one called Palm Springs that has lots of different First Nations land around it. And they've all worked together. The city still grows, everybody prospers, but we work together. And I think it's the partnerships that need to be formed in this area that is probably the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that's keeping us behind on moving forward with a lot of economic and job opportunities. And so that would be probably my biggest thing that I would want to do.
Thank you.
Perfect.
That concludes our presentation for Louis de Jaeger from the Liberal Party of Canada. So Strathcona, can we give him a round of applause, please?
And get out there and get your fake ID and vote for Louis. Just kidding.
I just want to thank you again for coming
Yeah.
in. I know it's a
Good. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. And good luck.
Excellent. And yeah, keep up your French. I'll take some questions here if you want.
Sure.
5? Sure. Sounds good. Who likes Justin Trudeau?